Hello and welcome back to Maff UK. What are we going to be doing today? Well, today we're going to be looking at the full inner for the Wickiup3. So this is the full inner for that tent. So why am I showing the full inner? Well, I've got the 3/4 inner, which I'll show you a picture of. I've got the footprint, which I'll show you a picture of, and now I've got the full inner. So I've got the complete range for this tent. So I'm totally committed to it now. I wouldn't have bought it though if I thought for 1 minute that it wasn't actually worth it. And I do. Although it's classed as a 3-season tent, I do believe there are possibilities to take this into a further 4-season, depending on the area. It will withstand a good wind. It's had a 30 mile-an-hour wind on it last week. We're gusting up to about 40 miles an hour, and it took it in its stride. However, I did move to a sheltered area because that's the sensible thing to do. So without further ado, let's get on with it. Let's peg this baby out and let's see how it goes up. Now, you probably won't find any instructions with this, but it is pretty self-explanatory. So let's have a look at it. So here we go then, let's open it up, let's spread it out, peg it out. I don't mind pegging through this tarp. They're cheap tarps and they protect my gear. As always with these, you will find an orange tab. That is your door, that signifies your door, and it lines up with the top, and I'll show you that later. I don't know how many notches to adjust this yet. Not until I get in and have a look. Two spaces, 1, 2 in the 3rd space. Now, I've always had a theory about this tent, and that is with that inner, I think there's plenty enough room for 2, not 3. Never is 3, is it? So without putting the outer on next, we can have a look at the space we've got inside the tent now. So we've got plenty of light, we can see what's going on. So I'll take you off the tripod, let's go and have a closer look from the inside. I'm 6 foot, 6'1", used to be 6'1", I'm starting to shrink a bit now and getting on. So good, quick 360 from the outside. It's exactly the same dims all the way around. The noise you may be able to hear in the background are the boats, because the canal, if you listen, you can hear people walking by. It's just there, and the boats go by. That's what you can hear. Oh, I really like it. I really like it. So here we are then, inside the Wickiup3. Now I think it's pretty obvious that there's room for 2 in here. You've got to go either side of the pole. You've got to go either side of the pole, but you can fit 2 in here. So I'll lie down. Right. My feet are at the bottom. There we are. I've got about 150 mil till my head touches there. On your mat, you're close. When you get on your roll mat or your inflated bed, you are close to it. But 6'1", I have no problems with this. My roll mat is 2 meters 100 long, and it fits in here perfect. Perfect. So you could quite easily have 2 large roll mats in here and plenty of room for 2 of you. So I quite like this. Yep, plenty of room in here. Yeah, so I think this is more than enough room for 2 people. Plenty of room, and the beauty of this type of tent is that you can sit up straight in it. And that is a massive bonus for this tent. And 2 of you can quite easily sit up straight. Ventilation, you've got half and half. So all your lower stuff, all the lower section is completely, not windproof, but ventilation nonetheless. And all the upper half has plenty of ventilation going on, which is one of the key things about this tent. Quality in manufacture, second to none. I've not seen any issues so far. Excellent stitching, all double stitched. Quality stitching. I'm just going to have a quick look here. Yeah. Yeah, everything about this screams quality, which it bloody well should be, considering the money I paid for it. But a little top tip when it comes to the door, you've got 2 tabs for rolling it up. I'm just going to show you what I do, because it does slip out if you don't do it this way. So I'll bring you a little closer and show you how I roll the door up. Because it's double silicone, it slips on itself. So what I do is I fold either in, catching that there, and then I roll from there. And keep it as tight as I can. Tighten it up as tight as I can, and also do the top one as well. I know this seems like basic stuff, but if you don't do that, all this bit here starts to untangle and flaps around and starts flapping around down here, and it drives you mad. So that's how to do that bit. And that process is repeated all the way around the tent until everything is nice and taut. It does look like a bit of a mess about putting this up. And there is a bit of a problem. And the problem is, the minute you open that door, any rain is going to want to get inside. Well, you can simply unhook the door and roll it back a bit if you want to do that. And what about cooking? If the weather deteriorates, you won't be able to cook outside. You know, can you cook inside the tent on that? That's a 10,000 hydrostatic head, so you can sit on it without any extra ground shit underneath like I've got. But would you want to cook on it? Well, I have a little tip for that, and it's something that I've got specifically just to go with this. I'll show you now. Before I show you this little trick, I know this is where people are going to disagree with me and say you should never ever cook in your tent. That's absolutely fine if you want to follow that rule. Yes, people do die every year from killing themselves through fumes by having burners or bringing barbecues inside their tent because their coals are still warm and killing themselves, and that is a bloody shame, and it's really awful that that happens, but it does happen. So I'm not saying you have to do this. What I'm saying, this is what I do. So don't criticize me for what I do. You don't have to do it, okay? I'm just showing you what I do. Is that clear? Thank you. Anyway, this is what I do. So you've been here a couple of days. The weather's been great, but you're in the UK. You know what's going to happen. It's coming. It's always going to rain on you at some point. And the weather is starting to change and turn. Can you still use this tent in that sort of environment, can you cook and administrate yourself? Well, yeah, you can. Two options, like I said. You can unclip the floor and roll it back and cook in this area here, and you can zip the door down and you'll be perfectly fine. Or you can do this, and bearing in mind this tent has ventilation all around the bottom. There's 3 large vents at the top, and the top half of this tent is also complete mesh. So ventilation is not an issue with this tent at all. None. Even in the midst of winter, you've still got 3 vents at the top, and that's why I like it. One thing I did notice last year, when the wind drives really, really hard, you will get the odd, it's like little feeling of water just dripping through. And it's not because the tent's leaking, it's because the driving wind drives the rain up and you get the odd splash on you, and I mean odd splash. A piece of tissue paper from a toilet roll would be far too big to wipe it up. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not a lot. It's not anything that concerns me, but it is an observation that I do need to pass on so that you're aware of that too. I think some people have actually said it's the tent leaks, but it's not leaking. It's actually the wind driving the rain up and through into the vents. And so even though it's difficult to do, it is possible and it does happen. Anyway, it's starting to rain, so I am going to batten down the hatches and I'm going to zip myself in. Then I'll show you what else I can do. So you're in your tent, it's pouring down outside now. I've left the inner door open just to give us as much ventilation as possible. And what am I going to do? How am I going to cook on that? Well, by using this. This is a soldering mat, welding mat, whatever you want to call it. It is very, very light. You can even use it as a seat, cushion seat if you wish. So it's got 2 uses, and if it's got 2 uses, it's okay in my book. On top of my ground sheet, take out my burner. And cook. And because of the size of the mat, when you finish cooking, you've still got room to place hot items onto the mat as well. Now, points to note there, what I did do is I put my burner in the doorway. Now, you could say and argue the point that should there be a fire or the stove flares up, my only means of access is now blocked. And yes, you would be right. However, that is simply remedied by just sliding the whole thing a couple inches to the other side. So do I condone cooking in the tent? Well, no, not really, I don't. That is a way of getting around it should you need to. I think the key really is to make sure that you bring with you the equipment to enable you to do that. Using that particular stove in here, I wouldn't actually use. Worst case scenario, I'd use a Trangia or a gas burner. Those are probably the most stable and better systems to use in here. Using something like that there, which is a fancy free stove, you are unable to distinguish the fuel. You can't put it out should something go wrong or should an emergency arise where you need to exit quickly. You can't do it. Whereas gas or the Trangia, you either snuff it out or turn it off. So I don't condone using this type of burner in there, but if you need to, if you must, you can use another type. And I think that's a fair statement, whichever way you look at it. Now let's discuss putting this tent up in the rain. As you can see, it is an inner pitch first. Or is it? You good girl. Come on then, off you go. Come on. You're just a hot dog, aren't you? You're just a hot dog. So where was I? Yeah, rain. Pitching this tent in the rain. Inner first. I don't think it is. I think you can pitch both. See these tabs here? See them? And see the clips down there that way I showed you clipping on earlier on, and it also clips together up there. I think you can put this tent together in one. because your ground sheet determines your space that you can pitch your outer anyhow. So if it's all clipped together, it will go up in one. There is absolutely no reason why it wouldn't. I cannot see, and I don't need to test it this time. I'm not going to practice it right now because I don't think it needs. Yeah, I am, aren't I? I'm going to do it. I am, yeah, because I'm saying it can and I don't know it can. So I'm going to have to do it, aren't I? So I'm going to make sure everything's all clipped together because I know I haven't clipped around the back there. I'm going to clip everything together. I'm going to dismantle it. And then I'm going to put the tent up. So let's put the tent up, all clipped together, and see if it works. The plane that you can hear, I used to be able to hear it from my home as well in Blackpool, and that's the Black Knight's parachuting centre plane. And it goes round, gaining height up to 10,000. That's what it's doing right now, and that's what you can hear in the background. The Black Knight's parachute plane. It's quite a big one now. Used to be Cessnas and Porter P60s, but now it's a dedicated big plane. More people, get them out. So here we go then. Trial run. I battle packed my tent from the last time. I've not tried putting it in the bag yet, but I'm confident it will go in. Putting this tent up in a oneer as a full inner is complete. Let's give it a go. Well, what's my opinion on that? Well, my first opinion is that it is 24 degrees and I'm hot, and therefore I'm going to have a quick drink just to cool me down. Straight from the fridge. Ooh. Right then, bottom line, can you put this tent up in a oneer? Yes, you can. Do I recommend it? No, I don't. The reason being, it's a lot slacker. The outer shell is not as tight and as taut as it was when I took it down. So there are definitely things going on here that will need adjusting. You need to take things out, adjust it, mess around with it. Yes, it's doable. Yes, you can put it up. So yes, you can save all your inner from getting piss wet through by putting it up as one. But it does mean there is a little bit of messing around to do afterwards to try and get it all nice and taut again. The other issue that I had, and you will have noticed on the video, was trying to find the inner sleeve for the pole, because it is very thin and goes up, tapers up very thin to like a channel, and trying to get the pole into that initially was quite difficult. I guess next time I try that, if I ever try it, would be to pull the whole inner out and do it from outside, and then you can see it, as opposed to trying to fondle around in the dark, if you know what I mean. You have to ask the question, am I glad I've bought the inner? Too right, I'm glad I've bought the inner. Yes, I've now got the complete set. I've now got everything. I do love the tent. I love the space and room that you have with it. If the weather closes in on you and you zip yourself in, you've got all the space in the world. And this inner ground sheet now with the flies or the bugs, nothing can get at me at all. Nothing can get at me. I now have to try and figure out on which occasion I'm going to use each particular piece of equipment. When would be an ideal time to use this? When would an ideal time to use the half inner? Or when would it be ideal to use the just the ground sheet itself? I guess I'm going to have to figure that out for myself. And it is a very popular tent. Some people are asking me some questions about it. They're looking at it themselves. The only thing I'm going to say is that it takes getting used to. Its capabilities in winter, it was holding up to 40-mile-an-hour gusts the other day. I can't guarantee they were 40 mile an hour, but you've only got to look at the video to know that that wasn't a 20 mile an hour wind. I would say, yeah, it holds up fine. It's not going to be like some of the mountain tents. It never will compete with that. I've seen it used up in Scotland in deep snow from the Renegade Scott. That's where he used it, and that's why I sort of liked it. So yeah, it's not a 4-season tent officially. I think it's got potential to be a 4-season tent. I haven't seam sealed anything. I've put an extra silicone sealer on the top there, but I don't see the necessity to seam seal. It's been in enough rain now. Yeah, I like it. So finally what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this down, reset everything out again, and then I'm going to show you everything as it should be, including this, the full inner, the half inner, and the ground sheet. So you'll now see all 3 systems, and they look like this. The Wickiup3 full inner. Ooh, a little bit of Lake District there. So there we go, exactly half the tent it used to be. And I still have plenty of room, but this is not enough room for 2, I'm telling you now. Not unless your buddy wants to sleep out here, but your admin space is huge. So it can rain all day, all night, and it ain't going to make the slightest bit of difference to you, which is probably makes this my favourite setup. So there you go. That is the half inner, and we'll finish with the footprint. And there is the Wickiup3 with the footprint. And again, let's go inside and have a look at what we got going on. Now this option gives you the maximum space. Purely and simply, there's no inner mesh. You're reliant upon the one layer only, but come on, there you go. Yeah, so, nope. It would appear my dog likes the cold of the floor because it is very, very hot, but she'll soon get hot in here. But yeah, you can see that this affords you most of the room, and my dog likes it too. But again, summer bugs, you're going to get bugged. If there's midges in the area, you're not going to escape them. They are going to get you. And so this isn't ideal for that scenario. But an area where there's no bugs, I don't know, maybe autumn or spring, that time of year, this is probably a very, very good shelter. And if you do want to cook, this is much easier now, just to unclip it there, pull that edge in, and then that can clearly give you a nice clear space down here where you can cook on the grass or the mud or wherever you are, the leaves, or whatever you've got going. There is, however, 2 more configurations yet to be seen, and I'm not going to show you those because one is quite simply taking everything off and just using it as a fly. The other, I'll show you. All throughout showing you this tent and its different configurations, you may have noticed right on the very top of the tent, this little tab there. How is that at all relevant? Well, before I explain what that mode is, remember, if you are drinking from tins in the summer, do check inside, just in case you happen to have a friendly wasp drowning in your drink and you do not want to get anaphylactic shock or stung in the mouth, do you? Although if you buy this tent, you'll get stung in the pocket. So yeah, that's clear. That's why it's always best to pour into a glass or a cup. Right, the little tab there. Should you want to, you can be a bushcrafter with this. You can take this tent into the woods, you can string it up under a tree using a branch. You don't need a pole at all, and that will eliminate the central pole, so you don't even need that. So that's one of the advantages of this tent. Should you have a problem or your pole breaks, all is not lost. There aren't many campsites you might not be able to find a tree. So there's always a tree somewhere in a campsite, and you could technically pitch this tent under a tree with no problems whatsoever using the tab. You simply tie a piece of string to it. And as you'll already notice, they are self-standing if you just want to use the fly. So if you was in a very warm climate, let's say America, somewhere like that, and you didn't want to put your outer tent up, you don't need to. You can just use the inners. And the half inner also comes with a small guy to peg it out to stop the pole from falling over. So you get that 3D. So it is potentially very multi-purpose. You can use it in many different ways. I've shown you the full inner, and now I've shown you all the different ways that you can also have this tent. To my mind, it's rather expensive, but I like it, and I think it's fun to use. And it has to be fun, and you have to have confidence in it. And I've used it now in 2 good windy sessions, a rainy session, and I've sat in it in the sun. And it's a hot tent. I'm still struggling. But my dog likes the cold floor, so the dog is still sat in there chilling out. If I got any other tips or anything else I need to think of, I will show you later on the closing stages. However, time now to pack everything away and have a final look at the Wickiup3 family. And that is to show you the weights of the tent and each individual inner with it. Now I will add, the pegs I've got are enough to put the tent up properly. You don't get enough pegs with the tent to start with, so you have to add. That's why I had 2 different colour pegs, because I added to them myself. You get enough just to put the basic up. With enough pegs to put the tent up properly into any configuration that you want, this is the weight. The Wickiup3 with the full inner, all pegs and everything required to put up, coming in at nearly 2.3 kilograms. So it's not super lightweight. With the half inner, it's just coming in at just over 2 kilograms. And with the footprint, 2.1 something kilograms. It's jumping up and down there a bit. Not the lightest of tents by far. I knew I wasn't buying the lightest. I was buying something functional. And that's functional, isn't it? So there we are then. That is the Wickiup3 with its full inner, half inner and ground sheet. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you found it interesting. I certainly did. I've never seen all 3 together on the same day before. And I can now compare the 3 at once, which was quite good for me also. I think half inner's winning it, the race so far for me, but I do like all 3 different configurations. I do like the flexibility, and I do like the fact that you do have options, and wherever you're going, whatever time of the year, you can now decide which one it's going to be. But it isn't cheap. Thanks for joining me. Hope to see you again soon. What have I got coming up? I've got a lot of fishing coming up actually. I've also got another couple of trips out and about under the stars. So yeah, well, please join me, come along for the ride, as you're always welcome. And I'll see you in another one. Thank you very much. Bye bye.